Anyway.
One of the things that we recognize about civil contracts is that they're not entered into just for the emotional edification of one party.
Yeah.
There's always a concept of consideration in these contracts,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so there can be terms and conditions that apply, and there's all kinds of standard ideas that we consider to be part of any agreement. People came together in good faith, etc. Right? None of those are applied in civil law in family cases.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think
That's what's so bizarre about it?
See, the other thing that I look at as well, when you have children, should children be part of the contract? Should children have, not through a guardian ad litem or the whatever they call these different people, but I think that in the majority of cases of divorce, kids do not want to see their parents get divorced.
No, they don't.
And they have to be silenced.
They do.
We have to force these lies upon them that says, your parents just want to be happy, you'll be happy, you're resilient, the kids are resilient. Adults talk to each other like this. But what's happening now, and maybe you've seen this, adult children of divorce that have taken place 30 years ago are now coming on, starting to speak.
Yeah.
And my thought is this.
It's the worst thing that ever happened to them.
Yeah. It's not just a temporary thing.
No.
It is a lifelong upheaval.
Yep.
And Judith Wallerstein's book, The Unexpected Legacy of Divorce, the 25-year study, that book was almost written by accident. What had happened is that she had done a 15-year study on the children, and she met one of these people that she had researched. And 25 years later, she's now getting her life together. And, she's so happy to meet with Judith, and Judy's happy to see her going on. And then, as she's leaving, she says, maybe your next book ought to be what really happens to us when we grow up. And that's what she looked at. And Judith Wallerstein was one of these people that believed in the good divorce, the happy divorce, the
there's no such thing as that.
Until she did the research. And you are sentencing your children to a lifelong trauma at times.
No question.
And not just the children, but sometimes your grandchildren.
Absolutely right.
So, and that's where, I've been very much on the issue of divorce, because I think if we can hit the issue of divorce, and again, the same thing with you, why is the state even involved in the marriage business if the marriage is taking place in the church? This was something that the state found a way to encroach into because they had to govern marriage, and now they're issuing licenses, and I know there's a whole history with the marriage license and stuff like that. But it's the only sacrament of the church that the state says, you know what?
You can't.
Yeah.
And there's an important conservative principle here. No matter how conservative you are, even if you're just center right.
Yeah.
Right? There's an important principle that G.K. Chesterton observed.
Yeah.
And he said, if a reformer is traveling down a road,
Mm-hmm.
and he sees a fence across the road,
Mm-hmm.
and he thinks, there should be a fence across the road, let's remove it. Chesterton said, I will not listen to this reformer. But if the reformer inquires into the purpose of the fence and truly understands what it was originally put there for,
Mm-hmm.
then I will listen to him.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's not going to just change something without understanding its genealogy
Mm-hmm.
and why it was there. These reformers that changed marriage
Mm-hmm.
did not consider the reason these customs arose over thousands of years in our history.
Right.
And they changed things, and this is what has allowed them to change everything to gay marriage, the child transgender thing,
Yeah.
all of the despicable things with the child support issues. All of these issues are all connected
Yeah.
to this single set of reforms. It's a few reforms that changed our customs, forever redefining marriage.
Yeah. Yeah. Under Bolshevik Russia, when Vladimir Lenin imposed unilateral no-fault divorce, one of the things that happened very shortly thereafter was skyrocketing abortion rates.
Absolutely right.
Because they did not have abortion, generally speaking,
That's right.
before that.
That's right.
And the same thing happened in America. Now, granted, this came about because of the sexual revolution that you're talking about. The no-fault divorce seemed pretty innocuous, especially in light of the fact that we're now talking about Roe versus Wade. So while Roe versus Wade is something that was horrendous and needed to be opposed on a national level, meanwhile, this is going on here, and all of these states are passing this thing here that actually caused the problem.
That's correct.
And that's where I tell the pro-life people, if you are pro-life, you must be for the repeal of unilateral no-fault divorce.
Yes.
Because the people that are more likely to get pregnant and have abortions are the daughters.
Absolutely. And there's a very peculiar paradox here that I have never heard anybody else talk about. I've journaled about it a lot. I really haven't written an article yet about it. But, you know, with the rise of birth control, we have the simultaneous rise of abortions.
Yeah, yeah.
This is a very interesting fact
Yeah.
that goes against all of the arguments of both the abortion providers
Yeah.
and the birth control
The birth
providers.
control people, yeah.
What happened was there was a radical re-understanding of or redefinition of what a human was. Let me tell you, there was a producer, the national television show that wanted to interview me. He came down and he wanted to do a thing on James and everything. And I said, well, I got to meet you. I don't know you. And I even let him meet James. Right? He came down, and during this process, he confided in me that he was gay. And he asked me about orthodoxy, and he said, you know, could I come to your church? I said, of course. You're gay. You should definitely be coming to church. Yeah. And he said, well, could I just be married or anything? I said, no. We think homosexual activity is a sin. Yeah. And he said, well, then I couldn't be myself. I couldn't be who I am. And I said, oh, here's the thing. You think a human being is a biological entity that exists to satisfy largely unconscious desires. I don't believe that's what a human being is. Yeah. We have a disagreement over what a human being is. Yeah. Our anthropologies are radically different. Yeah. We should talk about that, not being gay. Yeah. Yeah. And it was a very shocking moment for him. Yeah. He didn't realize just how far apart we actually were. Yeah. Yeah. We don't even agree on what a human being is. Yeah. Yeah. But there has been a radical redefinition of what a human being is, and it's largely been, I believe, inculcated in our primary public education systems. Yeah. Yeah. And that's had horrendous effects.
There is a movie out on Amazon Prime. It's called Unprotected. It deals with some of these issues, not to the same degree that you're talking about. I've seen the movie. A lot of it is well done. The only thing that I thought is, if you're talking about legislative stuff, it would be hard to legislate this stuff. But the reality is, we're talking about moral issues. And these are issues I remember talking about, you know, almost 40 years ago right now, that I didn't have a whole lot of understanding about some of the stuff, but I still thought there's something intuitively wrong.
Look, we're having trouble convincing conservative politicians to outlaw the surgical mutilation of children and their genitalia. So, like, this is the level that we've sunk to. Yeah. But we have to have an interview like this. Yeah. Because we cannot get conservative legislators to outlaw this practice. Yeah. It shows you just how weak we've become morally, and how much we've adopted our enemies' definitions that we can't speak against it in the right way. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad to have met you. Nice to meet you. And I hope that you keep speaking out, and I will do whatever I can. I will. But I'm at your service anytime you need help.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. You are much more, I think, you speak much more eloquently than I do.
I don't think so. I think you do a pretty good job.
Okay. But anyway, well, I hope to coordinate with you. And I would also like, you know, if your idea about going under the Title 4D courts, the Title 4 courts.
People need to see what's happening.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, maybe that's got to be something that we put higher up on the agenda. Yeah. If you're living in Dallas in particular, wherever you are, to go to these Title 4D courts to see the grave injustices that take place.
Let's see. Do we know anybody who could do a short documentary here in Dallas on that? Maybe somebody with some skills doing interviews and great photography. Maybe, it's not far-fetched to get permission to film down there. That's not far-fetched.
Okay, well, you know what? I think...
And interview some of the people there. Yeah. Just show up and interview them. Yeah. Yeah. Hear their stories. Yeah. That's very doable.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds good.
All right.
That is going to be up on the list. Thanks so much.
Take care.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.